Lover 1972 here, also of course known as Brian. You probably know that by now, but anyways, as the title says, it's how I got into Criterions and why I collect them. And this topic was brought up many months, well, August, September, sometime of last year. The people that already addressed the topic were Ian, All Things Film, Mike, DVD Collector 1974. I mean James, DVD Collector 1974. Mike, Gray 1951. Maca Photos. I looked for your video. I couldn't find it. Harry and Ian, I couldn't find your video. But anyways, maybe I missed Jay's. I'll have to take a look for it. In any case, I wanted to address this topic because I have a lot of Criterions. I have at least a few hundred. I start off with DVDs, and let's see, where do I start off here? Let's see. So my very first Criterion that I bought was this one, 8.5. I had a copy of this on VHS previous to this. But the quality I don't think was that great. And the special features on here are fantastic. You know, it has a film commentary. It's got a 22-page booklet, and it's got these special features like a 52-minute film, Fellini, a director's notebook, one about Nino Rota, the composer of the music, who also did the music for The Godfather. You know, interviews with people that worked on the movie. So, you know, that's what I like about it. Rare photographs, gallery behind the scenes, really in depth. And that's basically where Criterion really triumphs, is that they have very in-depth covering of a film that they place into their collection. Not only do they restore the film, but they provide you with all these special features so that you can gain an appreciation of the film. And I think basically, I think it says on here, or let me see if it's on another one. It's the Criterion Collection, a continuing series of important classic and contemporary films. So maybe they judge their films basically on things like aesthetic value, technical value, or like cultural, like historical value. So they're not going to put a film like Freddy Got Fingers or Biodome in the collection anytime soon, you know. But they have put films in like The Rock and I think another Michael Bay film, Armageddon, I believe, and that was early in their collection. I think they started off as movie theaters. Correct me, anybody watching this video, if that's not the case. Then they had Laserdiscs. Like one of the Laserdiscs they did was Citizen Kane. They did another one. Well, and I'll get into Criterion Channel later in the video as I wrap the video up. But I also have the Criterion Channel, which is their streaming source. But basically, what I want to get down, what I want to say about that is, or maybe I'll say it now. I don't know when. Somewhere in the video, I'm going to say it. Is that you know, they start off I think with theaters. Then they went to Laserdisc, and then when DVD came on the scene, they went into that, and then Blu-ray came on the scene, they went into that, and of course streaming has been introduced, and they also have. Well, they started off as Filmstruck. I never subscribed to Filmstruck, which was, I guess, in correlation with Turner Classic Movies, so you could watch Hollywood films too. But now they have the Criterion channel, which I'll talk about it now. So it has films in the collection with the special features and then the commentaries. Then they have just the films from in the collection that they don't have any stuff with. And they also have other films that are not even featured in the collection on their channel. And then they have interviews with directors, women filmmakers, special topics like queer cinema, gay cinema, or just various topics. And Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project, which I have box sets of, the 2 box sets, but I think he covers more than those films featured on the box set. So, yeah, so the Criterion channel is fantastic. I think it's got at least a few hundred films on there at all times. So let me get back to this. So anyways, and then it covers various topics like and important films. It's always adding important films. War Trilogy by Rossellini. I haven't watched this. I think I watched the very beginning of Rome Open City, but this is like one of the first neorealist films, and they provide you with tons of extra features as to why. They tell you why these films are important, what they've gave to the legacy of cinema and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I still have to sink my teeth into this. I have to sink my teeth into a lot of these because I've yet to watch all of these. This is one I like a lot, Bicycle Thieves by Vittorio De Sica. Just very in-depth, as to telling why this film's important, I think. It says on here. Yeah, interviews with the screenwriter. I'm not going to get into that. I'll be here forever. And other directors, like Italian directors, going back to Fellini, my favorite Fellini film. And I got this because, it's restored. It's got some great documentary stuff. And, if you want to have a really great film that you love, like La Dolce Vita, in the most fantastic format, then you got to go with Criterion. And then Bertolucci released Last Emperor, which is I wanted to. I didn't pull every single Criterion in my collection out, but I have a lot around me that I want to show, and I'm gonna try and trim this video. I'm gonna try to make this video as short as I possibly can while addressing this topic. And basically, what this particular is a 4-disc edition. I believe they also have the 2-disc, but this have. One of the things Criterion has is they'll give you more than one cut of a film, more than one time length. This is the television version and the theatrical version. And then it has 2 other discs. One that, talks about the making of the film, and then one talking about the history of what's happening during the time that this true story took place. So, just wonderful. And then you have, great directors like Buñuel, Viridiana with Sylvia Pinel, films. When I saw this at Borders, I said, I've got to have this, Belle de Jour. I had this on Miramax in addition, but, Criterion yet again, I had to have that. Let's see, where should we go next? Okay, so now, let's see, Fassbender. I'm going to address 2 things. This is going to tie into something else I'm going to talk about a little later in the video, but this is a movie it's like the Matrix before there was a Matrix. It's based on a novel called Simulacrum some Simulacrum with some numbers on it. A science fiction novel, but basically this was the Matrix before there was a Matrix, done on a lower budget, and really interesting film. I saw this film first at the Jacob Burns Film Center, and you know. I think this film was like forgotten, and Criterion likes to resurrect movies like this, and I'll show you another one a little later on in the video that they resurrected and brought notice to, and that's a very important thing, that they bring notice to these films that people have forgotten. They just got lost in the shuffle. They're sitting on a shelf somewhere in a film canister, and they're bringing it back. So, or maybe in the case of this, maybe it was on TV in Germany, but not in the case, it wasn't shown around the world. So, you got that. So, and then, great films like Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. This is a Blu-ray, and they really restored it. I tear the plastic off of the case. I had to put this slipcover, not slipcover, I'm sorry, not slipcover. I had to put the cover for this in another case. But anyways, yeah, so, just the restoration's good, and what they have to say about the film. Then you get it to these Eclipse sets. Eclipse is like Essential Art House that they have, which is just a movie with no special features, but it chronicles important points in a filmmaker's work, like early Fassbinder, for example, showing you, it gives you like a little write-up in each case as to why, what's important about the film, I guess, and all that. But it's showing you a presentation of early films by Fassbinder, for example, or if you go to Japanese cinema, late Ozu, so you can really get your teeth into not just Tokyo Story, not just Late Spring, but other films like these. Okay, so now let's tackle, I guess, no. All right, let's go to this first. Okay, so Orson Welles, I think in his particular case, getting the rights to his films was an uphill battle, and I think that's the case. I don't know. I mean, but in any event, I think Criterion's really fought the fight. Maybe it takes them a few years to get these films available, but eventually we get Chimes at Midnight. Oh, Othello. I have more Criterions in my closet because I don't have enough room for them in my living room. So what you're seeing here is in my living room. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, even though I'm showing you a lot. So I mean, Chimes at Midnight, Shakespeare with Falstaff. I haven't watched that yet, but it looks pretty interesting. F for Fake, I haven't watched this either. And then you get great films like Terrence Malick, like this is probably my favorite Terrence Malick movie, The New World. 3 different cuts, really beautiful film, very poetic and lyrical and whatever. And loads of special features on here, as usual with Criterion. They also do other interesting things. This is a really good film. I don't know if I totally understand this movie, I have to say. But it sort of predicts the kind of world we're living in now. But look at how they the presentation of their media, that they make it look like it's a beta tape, and this is about I don't know, is it reality television, or it's sort of predicting maybe, I don't know if it's predicting the internet or just what is Videodrome about? It's I guess it's the possibility of things going wrong with technology. I don't know, but I like this film a lot, and I love how it's made. You know, how it's presented. So they take a lot of time thinking about the way it looks. You know, just the presentation, just the picture. You know, just the outside picture on the box when you buy a Criterion shows you that they put not just a lot of thought into the restoration of the picture and sound of the movie, the documentary material from the time period that the film was released, and also looking back from people that worked on the film critics and film historians talking about the importance of the film. But they also put a lot of thought into how the case looks, how the cover looks. They have essays about the film, so they really put a lot of thought into it. You know, another Ozu film, Tokyo Story. It's got a great documentary about Ozu with people that have been influenced by him. You know, people like Donald Ritchie, Tadao Sato, Chusu Ryu. That's a documentary. I'm sorry, Talking with Ozu, and this is featuring people like directors Stanley Kwan, Aki Kaurismäki, who I'm deficient in knowing about, but I know he's a big director. Claire Denis, Lindsay Anderson, Paul Schrader, Wim Wenders, and Hao Haswan. But anyways, and then you get films, Japanese films like this that here and there you're gonna hit a few bumps in the road where you might like. I like most Criterions, and I buy a fair amount of them blind without seeing them before, and I'm pleasantly surprised when I get them. I really like them, and some of them I got rid of. Just a few that I didn't like. One I warmed up to that I didn't like right away. It's not here around my desk. It's in my bookcase, but that's House, which is a Japanese film, and I'm starting to warm up to its silliness, I guess you could say, or it's pop sensibilities, or however you want to put it. But anyways, Jigoku, Japanese horror film. It's about hell. I think that means hell in Japanese. The first 1 or 2/3 of the film are okay, but what hell looks like, that's beautiful. How they depict hell. And I think this company that made this film went bankrupt after this film was released. Maybe it was Nikatsu that released it. And I have a Nikatsu, that again is over there, Nikatsu Noir box set, which is an Eclipse. You got films like Koroneko, the beautiful films. A few of them have more limited special features, but this does have a booklet with it. And then you get long movies. They also have long movies like Human Condition by Masaki Kobayashi, which is about like a 9.5-hour film split up into like 3-hour blocks approximately, about like pacifism during World War II of a Japanese citizen and how he gets pulled into the mess of World War II. Then you get films that I guess this film is fairly well known, in the foreign. It's not a film like Army of Shadows, which I'll just show in a second, or World on a Wire by Fassbinder. It's more known, but it makes it more available, and that's The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie by Buñuel, which is just this absurdist comedy about these rich people trying to sit down and eat a meal and getting interrupted. You're not going to find that on Warner Video or Paramount Video or Universal Video. They're not going to release that. Then you get films like these, Army of Shadows, which is a French movie, which was released in '69, but I think didn't get much of exhibition, that didn't really get out there and get noticed. and just sat on a shelf. Jean-Pierre Melville, the director, passed away in, I believe, 73. And this film wasn't released until about 2006. And yeah, so that's why, Criterion resurrects these movies and brings them back into the public knowledge, or the public conscious, or whatever, however you want to put it. Interesting films like Les Samurai by Melville, another Melville film. And then, where do we go now? Okay. Okay, let's go to Japanese cinema yet again. And I think, yeah, okay, these are all Kurosawa movies. Sometimes Criterions go out of print, like in the case, like in Army of Shadows, or this one, Ran, which means chaos in Japanese. It's based on King Lear, set in samurai times. And so, some of these are Studio Canal releases. Studio Canal is a French movie company. And they also did the Studio Canal French movies, like the Jean-Pierre Melville films, which are now out of print because they had a limited licensing agreement with Criterion. So now I think this is pretty valuable, as is Army of Shadows and The Third Man, which is a film I forgot about, but it's over there. But again, and The Third Man is a great addition that you can have. But you see, there's so many of them. They're worthy investments. I know they're costly, but I treasure them. Dreams. This is the Blu-ray. I mean, this is loaded. I mean, with a commentary, it's got the making of Dreams in it, and that's a 90-minute documentary. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. It's a 150-minute documentary. So that's 2 hours and a half, and the film itself is only 2 hours. And interviews with production manager, interview with the assistant director. I mean, just interviews with Scorsese about it, and Hayao Miyazaki of anime fame, of Studio Ghibli, and filmmakers Bernardo Bertolucci and Alejandro Inarritu. So great. You get films. I wanted this in a box set, but I couldn't get the box set. But anyways, Yojimbo Sanjuro, Yojimbo, the first one, meaning bodyguard, I believe, and then Sanjuro, the name of the person. Samurai films, Jishiro Mifune. Then you get films like Seven Samurai. And you get a very long interview with a Japanese director, Nagisa Oshima, the director of In the Realm of the Senses, which is also in the collection, which is sort of like a hardcore pornographic art film that won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, is sort of banned in Japan because of the way it goes about approaching its subject. Either it's, I guess, sexual nature, the sexual depiction, or the subject matter revolving around the story that I guess is controversial in Japan, that about a husband having an affair with a woman that's not his wife, and they're making love during the time when the Japanese are mounting up to colonize Asia and being involved with World War II. But anyways, Nagisa Oshima is interviewing Kurosawa on this, and there's some other special features, I believe. All these Kurosawa Criterions have, I think almost all of them, if not all of them, have It Is Wonderful to Create, which are these documentaries, in Japanese documentaries that address these various films. And then you got Ikiru, about a man who has stomach cancer, 6 months to live, and he has to do something substantial with his life before he dies, so he can know that he lived for a purpose. So where do we go now? Okay, so now we go Polish movies. Knife in the Water by Polanski. Excellent film, one of the best debut films of all time. In fact, I think it was in competition with 8.5. I will say that now this might be the case with Eraserhead on Criterion and with Mulholland Drive. Both of those are by David Lynch, and I think those don't have chapter selections because I think Lynch wants you to watch them all the way through and not rewind and fast forward, or he wants you to watch them like one continuous watch, you know. In this particular case, the chapter selections, like if you stop at 15 minutes in and that chapter ends 17 minutes in and the chapter started at 14 minutes, you're going to have to start from the 14-minute mark because it won't allow you to fast forward through the chapter. So, and then, you know, you have Krzysztof Kieslowski, this beautiful 3 colors box set with white, my favorite Kieslowski. And so a nice booklet, you know. Just a really nice job here. I could tell you that these special features, all these Criterions, but I'd be here forever, you know. Yeah, so I mean, just a lot of information looking back and at the time that it came out and saying why these films are important. In the Decalogue, you know, another Krzysztof Kieslowski film addressing the 10 Commandments, and incidentally, tooting my own horn, if you will, or whatever you want to say. My review of the Decalogue on my channel is my most watched video. It's got over 1,000 views. If you go onto my channel, you click on videos and then you scroll down, way down, you'll see this review. It's about an hour long, but you know, watch if you want or whatever. And then you get films. Now, who says this here? Trying to read the Marcel Ophuls, the greatest documentary about contemporary history ever made, Claude Lanzmann's Shoah, which is about the Holocaust. Doesn't show you any footage from the Holocaust itself at the time period it took place, but it shows you Jewish people, a few interviews with Nazis, not being realized that they're being interviewed by a Jewish person, not just realizing they don't know they're being interviewed by a Jewish person, and let alone this is a documentary about, you know, the Holocaust. I mean, they're kind of left in the dark a little. And it has a little special features on it too. This is like a 9-hour movie or whatever. But you know, so they also address documentaries too. Another one would be Spirit of the Beehive, which I haven't watched. Che, I think Memories of Underdevelopment. I think that's the title of it, is a Cuban movie. I think that's a documentary too. Che, this is the first film shot on a red video camera, Steven Soderbergh. I really like this film a lot. Benicio del Toro plays Che, and it's got some nice making of stuff on it as well. 3 discs there. It also has a poster, you know, to add some flourish to that. And then we'll end on this. I'm going to show a particular director's work. Well, I mean, I have it over there. I'll just address it right now. Kubrick's my favorite director. I have a few Blu-rays of Kubrick. And anyways, one of the ones they did was, well, they did Strangelove. I've got a Blu-ray Clockwork Orange. Maybe if they were going to do another edition of a Kubrick film, maybe they'd pick Clockwork Orange, maybe 2001. You know, that they haven't done before yet. You know, I'm sure those are in the making. They're in the process of trying to get those released, gain clearances and all that kind of stuff. But like Barry Lyndon, really in-depth resources on like how all of that was done. Production is, I think, production design or costume design, the paintings that they based it on, the music, the way lighting would look at the time it took place, and the fact that it was shot with Zeiss lenses, which were lenses at the time that had the widest aperture and were used in space. So Kubrick had somebody take Mitchell cameras that were no longer used, that were used in an earlier period of Hollywood history, and make them fit Zeiss lenses. And that's how I shot in low candlelight. And so I highly recommend Barry Lyndon, the Criterion edition. But getting to a director whose work has been covered a lot on Criterion, there's more than one. There's Hitchcock, there's many more, Fellini. But anyways, Charlie Chaplin, who I saw James mention. I guess, I think James is a huge fan of Charlie Chaplin, but you got the kid here. And you got City Lights. City Lights is not my favorite Chaplin. I'm not wild about it. I don't know. Maybe I should warm up to it. I don't know. I like the Gold Rush a lot. I haven't watched this particular edition, but it has two different editions of the Gold Rush. One from the period it came out, and one, I think, when Charlie Chaplin would re-release it. And these have Chaplin's music, because Chaplin would compose the music for his own films. Another director, I think, who composes music for his own films is John Carpenter. And I think Chaplin couldn't read music, but he would play the violin, and that's how he would compose music. And he was a perfectionist. He would destroy a whole set and then reshoot the whole film from scratch. Anyways, so you got this, and you got films like Modern Times, loaded of special features, like how they did the special effects, important films like The Great Dictator, which I've only watched the starting now. That's like his first sound film. Technically, this was his first sound film, but it uses a lot of silent techniques. And then you get into later films that he made, like Monsieur Verdoux. One of these has Buster Keaton with him. I can't remember which. I think it's Limelight. I haven't seen these two films. But you can see that they try to cover a lot of directors' work. Not just one here, one there. They try to encompass lots of directors. Melville's another one. I think Godard, Buñuel. So I've exhausted myself, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's way more stuff, that I could cover, and I'd be here forever, I think. So that just shows my appreciation of Criterion. I'll just end this with, I think this has led me also to discovering and being more open a little bit more to a few other labels, like Arrow, for example, which I had been sort of resistant to it for a while. I borrowed a Arrow box set from a friend of mine, the Female Prisoner Scorpion box set with Meiko Kaji, who was in the Complete Lady Snowblood Criterion set. And I was very impressed by how they covered the subject of those four films. I think there's a booklet with it, and so I bought that. And as you probably know, or maybe at least some of you know, Criterion, Barnes and Noble has a Criterion sale twice a year, once in July usually, and once in November usually. And Criterion, if you sign up to their website, newsletter, whatever, they have two flash sales a year usually. I think the first one's usually sometime, I think it's usually in February, but last year it was March. And then the other one's October. And it's only for like 24 hours, so you got to be on the ball when that happens. But when the sale for the Criterions was happening last November, they also advertised Arrow, and I watch another YouTuber named Aaron Pynn, Pynn. He's a Canadian. He's done some streams. He's done a lot of streams, and he's talked about how he likes Arrow and the special features. And another person on YouTube, Sexy Monkey, aka Sasha, talks about the good transfers, the special features. So I think in a way Criterion can make you also open somewhat to some degree to other companies that also try to do a good job, like Arrow, like Kino. Kino like specializes in a lot of silent movies, and maybe some other companies like maybe Blue Underground with like Italian horror or something. I don't know. But Criterion can open you to, well, yeah, more to Arrow and Kino, I would say. And so that's basically wraps the video up. Thanks for watching. I know it's very long-winded, and I was talking about various things, but I just wanted to show my love and passion for Criterion DVDs and Blu-rays. And as far as 4K goes, I'm not getting a 4K set or a 4K player, but knowing these people, Criterion has to stay alive somehow, and I think they're making a profit. I read on the internet somewhere that then they can't just keep making additions and hoping that, keeping their fingers crossed and worrying that let's make sure we sell these things. I think they also think about the marketing aspect as well, So I think they will address the 4K topic, just like the streaming issue with Criterion Channel, which is $100 a year, $10 a month, and I love it. But I think they will do 4Ks, because they're not going to be left in the dust. Criterion Channel's not the Criterion people. They're savvy. They'll know what to do. So I think if they don't now, eventually they're going to address the 4K issue. So with that, I'll say goodbye, and thanks for watching.